first thing I wanted to talk about was I mean, this was the biggest headline that that went on in Match Day 27 in MLS, and really one of the biggest stories in pro sports yesterday. Cavan Sullivan made his debut for the Philadelphia Union. 14 years old, 293 days.
Wow.
What were you doing when you were 14? Breaks the long hold record of Freddie Adu, who was 14 years, 320 days. So this was obviously a big milestone moment for the league. You know, Cavan Sullivan, he's the brother of Quinn Sullivan, who's another Philly Union homegrown. Their dad was a former professional player, so they're just this born and bred Philly family. There's like two more of them. It's like an army of Sullivans.
They're rebuilding the U.S. men's national team.
They're taking over. But Cavan has long been considered, at least in the last couple years, I mean, to be the best one. But he made his debut last night, and there was a lot of discourse about it, and a lot of it was more negative than I would have thought. You know, there was a lot of people saying that he was being overhyped. They shouldn't be doing this. He's too young to be debuting. They're Freddie Aduing him because, you know, as we all know, Freddie Adu is like the name you bring up as a cautionary tale for hyping an athlete when they're too young before they're ready. But I'll just give my take on some of this because I do see both sides of it. Like when I first saw he was debuting, you know, we were told a little bit beforehand to get our content planning going. So we knew that this was likely to happen and that it was likely to happen in a time frame where he would end up breaking Freddie's record. And so when I first saw that it was going to happen, I'm not going to lie, there was part of me that was like, this feels like a potential safety hazard.
Yeah.
He's not like a big kid. Like Freddie Adu was 2004, so I don't remember that well. I was 12 in 2004.
I was literally 4.
But I've gone back and watched the highlights, and I've seen like the DC United days and stuff, and he looked like a big kid, you know. Cavan looks like he's 14. Like he looks like he's in 9th grade because he is. So like the thought of him going up against MLS, like can you imagine him going up against Ymar? Like,
no,
like
no.
I was low key a little bit worried about it from that perspective. But I mean, as for his debut itself, I actually like he more than held his own. He definitely looked like he belonged out there. He had one play in particular where they got him out and running on the break, and he made a run down the left side, and he lined up a shot from distance. And it got saved, but it was like a pretty good looking shot. And he didn't look like overmatched or out of his depth in the brief time that he was on the field. You know, Philly was ahead 5-1 by the time he got on the field, so it was relatively low stakes in that sense. But yeah, he still got out there at 14 years old, like definitely historic, record-breaking moment. My take on all the hype, like if he's being overhyped and all that, like the only thing, what I'll say about that is like pedigree like this, it comes along every so often, and it's never going to just come completely out of nowhere, okay? There's a reason that Manchester City has already made a deal for him to come join their club when he turns 18, and he would probably, I think he would be headed over there sooner, but it's like you can't legally do that.
Yeah.
But Manchester City has scouted him and watched him play, and they've decided that they want him, and that kind of speaks to like what the scouts and the pundits say about him is that he's not the best player for his age just in the U.S., just in this country. He's the best player for his age in the world. That's not like me saying that and then or me.
You're not
like
agenda pushing.
That.
Yeah.
I'm not agenda pushing and bestowing that on him from like what I have watched of him play. That's just what the scouts and the pundits are saying, that he's the best prospect for his age in the world. And I mean, I think that's supported by the fact that he's already signed with Manchester City. So, the other thing is that like Jim Kurt and the Philly staff, they know ball.
Yeah.
And they know youth development. So if they watch him train and they think that he's ready to play in an MLS game, they're not going to just say that for no reason. And they're certainly not going to put him out there in an MLS game if they didn't absolutely believe and were convicted in their thought that he was ready to do that, and that if they put him out there, like, not only would he hold his own, but that he could positively contribute. I've heard Jim Curtin talk about it. I saw his quotes. You know, he had a quote the other day where he was like, yeah, I mean, we have him training with the first team, and every time he's in first team training, he does 2 or 3 things where I'm just like, what did I just see? Like, and, you know, I went and looked up his highlights on YouTube a little bit because, you know, when he signed with Manchester City, I was like, okay, I have to Manchester City. All right, I have to look.
You got to lock in.
I got to see these highlights for myself. What's this all about? And I will say, like, I think the thing that stands out more than anything is his unselfishness and his vision and his ability already at 14 to find and hit these passes that it's the type of thing that's like God-given. Like you can't really teach that. You either have it or you don't. And not only does he have it, like it definitely, he seems to have it at an elite level, like, already. So that's basically what I had to say about that. I'm curious to see if he can live up to this level of hype, because it's definitely a lot. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, for a 14-year-old to be kind of taking all this on his shoulders, I can see why some people might think it's too much. But I guess my point is just that it's definitely not for no reason. It's not for no reason. You don't get signed by Manchester City when you're 14 for no reason. The Philly Union don't put you out there in a first team game when you're 14 for no reason. Like, you have to have shown some stuff to do that.
Yeah, and I've seen, you know, funny enough, actually, I saw a lot of the USMNT bots getting absolutely triggered by them playing him, and in this whole idea that, like, the promotion and the MLS, like, doing a sit down interview with him and, like, doing some silly Twitter video about it is somehow gonna, like, ruin this player.
Shouldn't they be hyped?
Yeah, shouldn't they be excited? Like, I really don't get the hate. You know, the bigger thing to me is, like, he's surrounded by people who are fully aware of his situation and how to handle it. Like, he has an older brother who has been playing in MLS for multiple years now.
He scored a banger right before he subbed on.
Yeah, and, like, I think that if anyone is in a position to succeed and do well with young, not that anyone's going to do well with young fame, but, like, with this, like, weight on their shoulders, or perceived weight, I feel like he's in a pretty damn good position to hold up his end of the bargain. And even if he's not, he looks really excited to be out there.
He was vibing. He was having the time of his life. You could tell.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't understand the hate. I'm so stoked to see him play, and I'm even more stoked, you know, once he goes to City, it'll be great. But we're definitely lucky to be able to get to watch him play.
I'm just curious as much as anything, because, like, you know, phenoms like this, it can go one of two ways for sure. Like, people point to Freddie Adu as the reason that, like, that you should never hype an athlete like that. But, you know, there's stories on the other side of that as well. You got guys like, if we're doing cross sport comparisons, you got guys like LeBron was hyped in a similar way to this. Like in baseball, Bryce Harper, I remember when I was in high school, we're the same age. Like, he was hyped like this. I put sort of this situation is he's kind of the MLS version of that. And I think Pulisic's probably the closest young phenom, but even he didn't go to Germany. Yeah. He went to Germany when he was 16. But I don't think he was even being talked about making, like, a senior team debut when he was 14. I mean, so this is a little bit different territory than we've seen for a prospect in this country. I've never, like, when I heard that the scouts and pundits were saying he was the best player his age in the world. I mean, that raises eyebrows. These are scouts from other countries. Like, you understand that? Like,
Yeah.
These are scouts from other countries who watched him play and said that. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scout, but like, they're not going to just say that.
No, and dude, it's not unprecedented for people who start at the age of 14 to go on and have an incredible career. Maybe in soccer, it's less surprising, but Serena Williams turned pro when she was 14, and she went on to be one of the best in the world. Not that, not to compare apples to oranges, but like, it's possible. The age thing is one thing. The way that he plays and watching him play, he clearly has a level to him that can be expanded upon and built on to be one of the best at least in his class.
Yeah, we'll certainly be keeping tabs on how much he plays for Philly down the stretch here and what other milestones he checks off the list.